What's the matter, Don?
Am I
You're
interrupting?
looking
I'm sorry.
you're looking kind of nervous. I thought I was saying something incorrect.
Clint Eastwood never apologizes, never explains, never shows weakness. For 60 years, Hollywood's toughest icon has projected nothing but strength, control, and absolute confidence in every choice he's made. But that's all a lie. 7 films in his legendary career make him physically sick to think about. 7 disasters that cost him millions, nearly destroyed his reputation, and still wake him up in cold sweats decades later. Projects so catastrophic that he spent years trying to bury them, hoping the world would forget they ever existed. One nearly bankrupted him. Another forced him to sing on camera and almost killed his tough guy image forever. The worst one? It made him realize he was getting old, and that revelation broke something inside him that never healed. This is the story Hollywood doesn't want you to know. The 7 films that prove even legends bleed. Clint Eastwood built his empire on making the right choices when everyone else made the wrong ones. But even legends stumble, and when Eastwood fell, he fell hard. These 7 regrets didn't just fail at the box office. They taught him brutal lessons about ambition, ego, and the price of saying yes to the wrong project. Each mistake carved deeper scars into his psyche, shaping how he approached every subsequent film. Understanding these regrets reveals the vulnerable human beneath the steely exterior, the moments when Hollywood's most calculating survivor let his guard down and paid the ultimate price. Number 7. Ambush at Cimarron Pass, 1958. Starting our countdown is the film Clint Eastwood calls his worst ever made, a western so terrible it nearly ended his career before it began. Shot in just 8 days with a budget smaller than most TV commercials, this disaster taught him his first brutal lesson about the difference between opportunity and desperation. Fresh out of the army and desperate for any acting work, Eastwood took the role without reading the script. What he found was an incoherent mess about cavalry soldiers and Apache attacks, filmed in the desert with actors who seemed as lost as their characters. In all honesty, it was the worst film ever made, Eastwood later admitted. I thought about quitting acting right there. The production was chaos from day one. The director had no experience with westerns, the script changed daily, and the budget was so tight that actors had to provide their own costumes. Eastwood watched his dreams of movie stardom crumble in the desert heat. I was so depressed after watching it that I thought, I've got to do something else. I've got to get a job of other sorts, he revealed years later. But the film's failure became his motivation. Watching himself struggle through terrible dialogue and nonsensical action sequences, Eastwood vowed never again to accept work without understanding exactly what he was getting into. That lesson shaped every career decision that followed. The regret runs deeper than professional embarrassment. Ambush at Cimarron Pass represents the moment Eastwood realized that desperation makes you vulnerable to exploitation, and that vulnerability can destroy everything you're trying to build. Number 6. Paint Your Wagon, 1969. Paint Your Wagon stands as Eastwood's most embarrassing regret, a musical western that forced him to sing on screen and nearly destroyed his tough guy image forever. The film represents his biggest miscalculation about audience expectations and his own limitations. I wish I'd never agreed to do it, Eastwood has said repeatedly. Singing was not my thing. It's a cheesy spectacle, not my style. Fresh off his success in Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, Eastwood was eager to prove his range. When offered the chance to star alongside Lee Marvin in a big-budget musical, he saw it as an opportunity to show Hollywood he was more than just a gunslinger. The problems began immediately when Eastwood realized his singing voice wasn't strong enough for the demanding musical numbers. Rather than use professional dubbing, his pride forced him to perform the songs himself, creating awkward moments that undermined the entire production. Watching Eastwood struggle through I Talk to the Trees became painful for cast and crew. Every take revealed his discomfort, and that discomfort translated directly to audiences who couldn't reconcile the singing cowboy with the steely-eyed killer they expected. The film's bloated production, weather delays, and creative conflicts created a perfect storm of disaster. The final product satisfied neither musical fans nor Western enthusiasts, leaving Eastwood stranded between genres with nowhere to hide. Paint Your Wagon taught Eastwood the importance of knowing his limitations and staying within them. He's never attempted another musical and rarely speaks about the experience, treating it as a cautionary tale about the dangers of artistic overreach. Number 5. Two Mules for Sister Sarah, 1970. Two Mules for Sister Sarah haunts Eastwood not because of the film itself, but because of his catastrophic working relationship with co-star Shirley MacLaine. Their on-set conflicts created an atmosphere so toxic that it poisoned what should have been a career highlight. Working with Shirley was mostly static, no spark. Eastwood revealed years later. There's a reason I rarely mention it. The problems began during pre-production when MacLaine's method acting approach clashed with Eastwood's instinctive style. She demanded extensive character discussions and emotional preparation, while he preferred to find the character through action and minimal dialogue. Their philosophical differences exploded during filming when MacLaine began questioning every creative decision, from costume choices to dialogue delivery. For Eastwood, who values efficiency and collaboration, her constant challenges felt like professional sabotage. The tension became so severe that they could barely complete scenes together. What should have been chemistry between a gunfighter and a mysterious nun became obvious mutual dislike that the camera couldn't hide. There was no good taste left in his mouth, a crew member recalled. Clint realized that even great actors can destroy a film if they can't work together professionally. The experience taught Eastwood that casting isn't just about talent, it's about finding actors who share his work ethic and respect his process. He's since been extremely careful about choosing co-stars, prioritizing professional compatibility over star power. Two Mules for Sister Sarah represents his first encounter with the kind of ego-driven behavior that would plague Hollywood for decades, and his regret stems from not recognizing the warning signs earlier. Number 4. The Beguiled, 1971. The Beguiled represents Eastwood's most artistically ambitious regret, a psychological thriller that pushed him into uncomfortable territory and taught him painful lessons about the limits of his screen persona. It was my most unorthodox role and I was disappointed it didn't connect, Eastwood admitted. It's not what most fans expect of me. Directed by Don Siegel, the film cast Eastwood as a wounded Union soldier who becomes the object of obsession for the women in a Confederate boarding school. The role required vulnerability and sexual manipulation that contradicted everything audiences expected from him. Eastwood was drawn to the project's psychological complexity and the chance to work with Siegel again after their success with Dirty Harry. But the film's dark themes of castration, manipulation, and sexual violence made audiences deeply uncomfortable. The marketing campaign couldn't reconcile Eastwood's tough guy image with the film's disturbing content. Audiences expecting another action-packed Western found themselves watching a claustrophobic psychological horror that left them confused and unsatisfied. The film failed to connect because people couldn't accept Clint as a victim, a studio executive explained. His entire appeal was based on being in control, and The Beguiled stripped that away completely. The commercial failure taught Eastwood that his screen persona had boundaries that couldn't be crossed without consequences. While he continued to take creative risks, he never again played a character so completely at the mercy of others. The regret is particularly painful because the film was actually well crafted and ahead of its time. Eastwood's disappointment stems from knowing he created something worthwhile that audiences rejected, simply because it challenged their expectations. Number 3. Firefox, 1982. Firefox represents Eastwood's most expensive regret, a Cold War thriller that consumed 2 years of his life and nearly bankrupted his production company. The film's failure taught him brutal lessons about the difference between ambitious filmmaking and reckless spending. Playing a pilot who must steal a revolutionary Soviet fighter jet, Eastwood saw opportunities to combine action with psychological drama while showcasing cutting-edge special effects. But the production became a nightmare that spiraled completely out of control. The special effects, revolutionary for their time, required constant reshoots and technical adjustments that sent the budget into the stratosphere. Eastwood found himself spending more time managing logistics than directing performances, losing sight of the story in pursuit of technical perfection. The movie became about the technology instead of the story, Eastwood later admitted. I got so caught up in making the plane sequences look real that I forgot to make the characters feel real. The problems compounded when the Soviet Union refused cooperation, forcing expensive studio recreations of Russian locations. Every day of filming cost more than entire budgets of his previous films, creating financial pressure that affected every creative decision. The film's commercial failure nearly destroyed Malpaso Productions, forcing Eastwood to take acting jobs he didn't want just to pay off the debts. The experience taught him that technical ambition without narrative focus was a recipe for disaster. Firefox taught me that bigger isn't always better, he reflected. Sometimes the most powerful stories are the simplest ones, told with conviction rather than special effects. The regret runs deeper than financial loss. Firefox represents the moment Eastwood learned that even legends can be seduced by technology and spectacle, losing sight of the human stories that made them successful in the first place. Number 2. Heartbreak Ridge, 1986. Heartbreak Ridge haunts Eastwood because of what might have been. Specifically, his failure to secure Bill Murray for a key supporting role that could have transformed the entire film. The missed opportunity represents one of his biggest casting regrets. Eastwood offered Murray a significant role as a fellow Marine, seeing the comedian's dramatic potential years before others recognized it. But Murray declined, choosing other projects that seemed more aligned with his comedic image. I offered the role to Bill Murray. Sometimes I regret that he didn't take it, Eastwood revealed. The film could have gone in a different direction. Murray later called his decision a major regret, recognizing that working with Eastwood could have accelerated his transition to dramatic roles. The mutual regret has haunted both men, representing a collaboration that could have benefited everyone involved. The film itself became a moderate success, but Eastwood always wondered how Murray's presence might have elevated the material. The comedian's improvisational skills and dramatic instincts could have added layers of complexity to what became a straightforward military story. Bill would have brought something unpredictable to the role, Eastwood explained. His comedy comes from truth, and that truth would have made the whole film more authentic. The regret taught Eastwood about the importance of persistence in casting. He learned that sometimes actors need convincing, and that giving up too easily can cost you the perfect collaboration. Heartbreak Ridge represents the roads not taken in Eastwood's career, the moments when different choices might have created something truly special instead of merely competent. Number 1. Rawhide, 1959 to 1965. At number 1 is Rawhide, not a film, but the television series that made Eastwood famous and nearly destroyed his sanity. His regret about the show runs deeper than any movie failure because it represents 7 years of creative imprisonment that almost ended his career before it truly began. 12-hour days, 6 days a week. By the end, I was desperate to rid myself of the character and move on, Eastwood revealed. Cast as Rowdy Yates, the young trail boss on the long-running Western series, Eastwood found himself trapped in a role that paid well but offered no creative satisfaction. The grueling schedule and repetitive storylines made him feel like a prisoner of his own success. By 1963, I was desperate to rid myself of the character, he admitted. The endless cycle of cattle drives and frontier justice wore down his enthusiasm for acting, making him question whether he'd chosen the right career. The show's success became a curse, typecast him as a television actor when he dreamed of movie stardom. Studio executives saw him as Rowdy Yates, not as a potential leading man, limiting his opportunities and frustrating his ambitions. The character became a straitjacket, a longtime friend revealed. Clint felt like he was disappearing into Rowdy, losing himself in someone else's creation. The regret intensified when Sergio Leone offered him the role that would change everything. The man with no name in A Fistful of Dollars. Eastwood almost turned it down, exhausted by westerns and convinced his career was stagnating. Rawhide nearly killed my love of acting, he said. If not for Leone, I might have quit the business entirely. The experience taught Eastwood the importance of creative control and the dangers of long-term commitments that don't serve his artistic growth. Every subsequent project has been evaluated through the lens of that 7-year imprisonment. Clint Eastwood's 7 massive regrets reveal the brutal education that shaped Hollywood's most enduring icon. These failures didn't just cost him money or embarrassment, they taught him essential lessons about ambition, limitations, and the price of compromising his artistic vision. But perhaps most importantly, these regrets created the masterpieces that followed. Every mistake became wisdom, every failure became fuel for the triumphs that defined his legendary career. His greatest films exist because he learned from his worst experiences. Understanding these regrets shows us that even legends are human, that success comes from learning to fail better, and that the most powerful stories often emerge from the deepest disappointments. Clint Eastwood's regrets didn't destroy him. They forged him into the icon we know today. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more film lore.